Hi guys, welcome to Investing with JYK. I'm not sure how my connection would hold up, and it's probably gonna be a lot of wind noise. But in any case, this is a vlog that I will use to talk about, just turn it around, talk about facts and biases. Right, so we all have our biases. For example, I'm biased. A couple of my biases are I have a bias against Tesla, and I have a bias against NIO. I think NIO. I don't really think they're liars that much, but I kind of actively want them to fail. I have a bias against. Well, I have formed a bias against Chinese companies. I think a lot of them are fake, and all that. I think these biases are actually good, in a sense. It cuts down your cost of knowing the world quite a bit. Otherwise, you have to work from the beginning all the way. This is why I adopted a very different standard for Chinese companies than, say, companies that are based in U.S. and traded in U.S. Right? My standard for Chinese companies are essentially guilty until proven innocent. Now, the reason I want to talk about this topic is something I noticed about the whole virus issue, and there is a divide between the West and the East, really West and China. If you look at the reaction of Western media, I think there is clearly a bias, which is understandable, that everybody thinks that Chinese numbers are fake, which I do agree. But then it comes to a insistence that they don't really believe that China has the virus under control, even in the face of really just overwhelming facts. I think it's important to be able to both accept that most Chinese data is bogus, and at the same time accept that the measures that China has taken to have this virus under control to be effective. Right? And I have some connection. I had the fortune to be chatting with Professor Per Genster. I'm not sure if I pronounced his name correct. I think one sentence that he replied to me was quite useful in this context. He said there are advantages of dictatorships, in a joking manner, but I think it's true. One can conclude that democracy is a better system, a more desirable system, and it's a system that is, for all its flaws, one of the least evil choices of government. But at the same time, one has to be able to recognize that dictatorships have things that they're better at. So those are not conflicting thoughts. It's like an analogy would be, say, you have two person. One is generally a better person. He has, he has higher intelligence, is kinder and more generous and all that. But you can also conclude that, yeah, the other one is better at playing basketball or better at coding. Right? So those are not conflicting concepts, but it is the problem with bias is that once you assign a label to, so that with a single bias can easily of spread around. Like you attach a negative label to a particular entity, then it becomes harder for you to associate positive things with that same entity. And that creates a sorry about the wind noise, very strong wind noise right now. Not sure what's happening. Anyways, so it becomes much harder to associate positive things with that same entity, and that creates a rift between reality and what you perceive. And that's not good in investing or in life, in my opinion. It is also kind of difficult to do, though, to be consciously aware that you have a tendency to not accept positive things for that particular entity. And this is playing out between China and the West just now, like at this moment, quite strongly. So what's going on is, from my perspective, the way I perceive it is, in February or January, China locked things down, and Western media was like, all right, it's all too drastic or draconian, which is all fair criticism. And they say, all right, you're hiding numbers, or numbers are bullshit, which I think is true. Like, the numbers are bullshit. But then the part that kind of falls apart, that kind of the rift between the Western media and reality is, they then start they try to actively avoid thinking about the merits of such a drastic measure, and how, like, in terms of the ultimate goal of getting life back to normal, like, it is an effective measure. And I mean, later on, people started talking about like the hammer and the dance, but China did that really early on. You have to give credit where credit is due. The leadership, for all their faults with all the data hiding and all the fake numbers, one thing was real, like the iron fist, the political iron fist fell, and the hammer did knock down the infection rate down far enough so that most of Chinese cities are now back to normal, and people still have fear of taking public transport, in a sense that they don't really want to go down a plane, but people are now taking subways, albeit with a mask on. I don't see any, like, if you do go to a subway without mask on, then you probably get shunned. And on the Chinese side, most of us perceive this antagonism from Western media, which is totally correct. But then like, we kind of just perceive everything. Everything the Western media says is false, which is also kind of asinine. Like, they're like, oh, how dare you accuse us of a wrong numbers? Well, your numbers are fucking wrong. Your numbers are fake, right? And then at the same time, it's like, how dare you not recognize the sacrifice we made? It's just kind of more warranted. This is a lot of things play into this split reality between the two worlds, I think. And I mean, from an investment perspective, well, one thing is that China and the rest of the world will drift apart even more. Usually how things like this get resolved is not through conversation and mutual understanding. Typically it just goes for the worse. The lack of trust kind of begets further lack of trust. So there will be a further drifting apart of the rest of the world and China, and that incentive is present on both sides. The Chinese basically think that the Westerners are all evil and want to conquer and humiliate China, and then the Westerners are like, oh, the Chinese numbers are all fake and they're a bunch of liars and crooks. And both views have some merits, but in my world, the best outcome would be that, okay, we realize that we don't wish everybody all well, but we can still do business. I think that's the rational thing to do, but typically people are not rational, and yeah. Anyways, looking at this used to be a Korean restaurant, and that was shut down, I think early February or something like that. That was shut down. And then I was talking to a DD driver a while ago, well, yesterday actually. He basically told me that business is about 50% down, and the difference came from students. A lot of students haven't gone back to school because of this. I think a lot of schools remain closed. And then is entertainment. A lot of leisure activities no longer take place, so people don't go out for, let's say, bars. They go out for bars a lot less. Obviously, you can't really wear mask in a bar. That'd be very weird. You have to drink something. And yeah, so that's his thought. And then the rent on his vehicle, because a lot of the DD drivers don't own their own cars, so it kind of makes sense. The rent went from as high as 6,000 down to as low as 3,000. It has gone back up to about 4,000 now per month. So just some data point that I thought would be interesting to know. I'll pick up my Luckin coffee for however much longer they have. By the way, this one is free. Yeah. I hope the wind noise is much better now. So that's that, and that's all for today. And hopefully, from investment perspective, there's nothing useful, I guess. Just more philosophical things. And yeah, bye.